These saber-toothed ants are the Harpegnathos venator, and I built them this wonderful rainforest vivarium out of this glass box. In this video, I'll show you how I did it, if the ants accepted it, and their special way of hunting. Enjoy! First, we open the lid and grab some felt pads. We'll attach these to all the corners so we can slide the vivarium gently without startling the ants every time. This also allows heating mats to be placed under the tank without heat building up, and it protects the glass. Next, we'll use expanded clay as a drainage layer. This material is able to store water and release it slowly over time. If we ever add too much water to the tank, the clay will absorb it and prevent our substrate from becoming too wet. All materials are of course linked in the description. To prevent the soil from mixing with the drainage layer, which could lead to things like root rot in the wet soil, we'll place a drainage fleece between the clay and the soil. I have some mixed soil left from my last vivariums, and we're going to create the same mix now. For this, we'll use our trusted rainforest soil. It provides the plants with everything they need, and ants can dig well in it. For that nice forest feel, we'll add some bark pieces. These also store moisture and release it slowly. I'm eyeballing the exact amount, and I'm doing the same with the activated charcoal. This helps to filter the vivarium and prevent mold. The whole thing is then mixed, and I like to moisten it a bit as I go. It's less dusty, and I can easily control the moisture with the spray bottle. I repeat this step until I have a soil mix that holds its shape, isn't soggy, and still offers good conditions for our plants. Once you add this to the vivarium, you can get creative. I press the soil down lightly as I go to prevent the ants' tunnels from collapsing due to loose earth and burying them alive. For this vivarium, I envision a wood and stone combination. This makes it easy to create an elevated area, which gives the whole vivarium more depth. With the hardscape, you can really let your creativity flow, and it's often as tricky as it is exciting. Since I only use natural materials, I always have to see how the elements harmonize. It's like an exciting nature puzzle. This often leads to the best ideas, and I'll explain in more detail later why I'm placing things this way. For the plants, I decided on the wonderful Episcia cupreata. Without a climbing aid, it stays flat as a ground cover and only grows about 10 centimeters high. The amazing leaves are a great eye catcher in our vivarium without being too much, and I'm happy with this choice. The same goes for our Ficus Pumila. I already liked it in our Camponotus singularis vivarium, and here too its heart-shaped leaves are on a full display. The various vines allow us to tie the whole vivarium together and make it more of a cohesive whole. As a little highlight, I have the Fittonia albivenis in the pink special variant. The different Fittonia variants are always a great eye catcher in vivariums, and we don't just have one in here. The Grey Sensation variant also has a great coloration and adds to the vivarium's color diversity. Now, on the home stretch, comes my beloved moss. Moss always brings everything together wonderfully. I'm using this one for the first time. It's a bit more yellow than usual, but I want to give it a try. At this point, I didn't know I would end up replacing it later, so I put a lot of effort into placing it nicely. Moss also stores moisture and can contribute to the optimal climate and the vivarium. With moss, you can also somewhat limit where and how the ants dig. But as always, the ants themselves have the final say. And now that the vivarium is almost finished, we can fill in the gaps and create a beautiful flow. Stones work wonders here, forming soft transitions between the individual elements. Stones are rarely found in isolation. They are usually surrounded by smaller stones of all sizes, so you can be a bit more generous with them. Wherever we place stones, we can also use small stones to complete the vivarium, but you can also scatter a few on the moss here and there. The whole thing then gets a little shower to freshen everything up, and just like that, the vivarium is ready for the ants. I let it rest for a day, and what's hiding here behind the fog is a mystical tropical rainforest with new moss and a lot of love. Wonderful to look at, and just the start of a great journey. The morning freshness still lies on the leaves, stones and wood, and everything finds its place. The plants complement each other and complete the rainforest. It's always nice to see how something wonderful and whole can emerge from many individual parts. When you're in the store buying things according to your vision, everything is abstract. To finally have the vision in front of you is one of the best moments in ant keeping. And to ensure they don't surprise us in the hallway, I'm applying paraffin oil to the rims. Many ants can get a grip on it and are unable to leave the vivarium. You can also use talcum powder, but it's not as visually appealing and is less effective in high humidity. And our barrier needs to be effective because our ants are not here. Only stealthy clues to our hunters are left in the arena. Crickets and the remains of what they once were are everywhere. We can't pass up this chance to transport the entire colony at once. And what looks easy here was dangerous, because the sting is more than painful. And we can now take a closer look at who has this painful sting. Not without noticing, but we almost grabbed right into an ant and narrowly escaped what is probably the most painful sting in my entire ant collection. And here they are. These ants, about 1.5 centimeters long, are truly special. They're not just large, they have these impressive mandibles that are immediately striking. They can hold their prey with these when they hunt, and you can be sure that prey has little chance of escaping these saber teeth. With their giant eyes, they spot their prey from a distance and stalk it until it's already too late. When you move next to them, you can see them watching you. Their heads follow your movement as you pass by. It's as fascinating as it is creepy. They have the queen, but she is hard to recognize because she's only identifiable by her thorax being slightly thicker than the workers. If I'm not mistaken, this one here above the eggs might even be the queen. Do you see the small ridges on her back? That's where the wings must have been. She repeatedly patrols around the eggs, and I'm glad the colony still has eggs after the long journey. But this species can also have workers to take over the queen's role if she dies. Isn't that cool? But our hunters are hungry, and I know exactly where they can hunt. Carefully, without panicking the ants, I laid the tube in the vivarium and removed the cotton with tweezers. Now it was time to wait and be patient. It was good that the ants were calm and didn't immediately flee in all directions. But this species also doesn't like its nest being completely exposed. And with a typical wiggle of her butt, an attentive hunter ventured outside and looked right at me. That was a very intense moment. You must never forget how well the species can see, but at the same time how they take in endless smells with their antennae. Stealthily and watchfully, the surroundings were explored. How nimble she climbs the beautiful grey Fittonia and stands out against it is the first highlight. And the escape barrier is tested for the first time. It's doing exactly what it should, and even her elegance can't beat the invisible barrier. It didn't take long for the highest point to be scaled, and the ant was perfectly camouflaged. Their excellent climbing skills make these ants merciless hunters who can see you everywhere, smell you everywhere, and follow you everywhere. And did you know these ants can jump? They can catapult their entire body a full 10 centimeters. A terrifying realization for any prey animal when this ant leaps at it. And a second ant had successfully hunted something, a stone. Why it was received so excitedly by the colony is a mystery to me, but excited workers followed her. Carefully, they ventured out of the opening and walked the paths their sisters had already paved. And more pieces were brought into the tube, maybe to seal the nest for now, but maybe also to regulate the humidity or protect the nest from intruders. And the way her head cutely peeked out from under the stone was a little highlight too. The gap under the stone seemed to be generating general interest. It's definitely a first shelter that isn't lit and can hide the ants. The nest is still completely calm, there's just a little butt wiggling, but otherwise they seem unimpressed. Yet, worker by worker, they found their way outside. From the ants' perspective, you can better imagine how they must perceive their environment. Small leaves are huge, and every fiber is like a rope. And if you're not careful, sometimes you don't even see how dangerous a cave can be. Because sometimes you look into the darkness, and the darkness looks back. This hunter has already found another shelter, and you have to imagine a small, unsuspecting insect walking past this opening and in the next moment breathing its last breath. And the rock is becoming more and more popular. Maybe it's the higher humidity underneath, but the real question is whether a nest will be dug here. As I said, I had a plan for this spot. I'm hoping the ants will build a nest on this level where they'll be perfectly visible for us coming and going. But the ants don't seem particularly interested, but that's okay. The well-being of the ants is the top priority, and they can live wherever they want. But still, I'll give them a little help here and form a small hollow. If they find it, they might see it as a good opportunity, and the plan might work out after all. But the clear favorite so far seems to be the rock overhang. It was still quiet in the nest, but gradually there were fewer workers inside. They were looking for shelter everywhere, and you could always switch between the left piece of wood and the rock to see something exciting. But these ants are hungry, and it gets more exciting during the hunt. Carefully, I placed a few small crickets in the vivarium. Not too many, so we don't overrun the vivarium, but enough that the ants and the crickets are bound to cross paths. As I watched the crickets, I had to think that they must also be happy to move from their container into a natural environment. And even though she startled for a moment, you can see exactly how the hunter is looking right at the cricket. This one is too fast, but pursuit mode was activated immediately, and with a sprint she already snapped at the cricket. This was the first attempt, and the cricket got lucky. It won't have this luck many more times. These ants don't have a social stomach with which they can share food in the colony. Accordingly, they hunt a lot individually and bring prey which they paralyze with their strong venom directly into the nest. And look here how long the ant fixates on the cricket. Every movement is tracked, while the cricket is completely oblivious. In the end, it got out of range by chance, but its time will come soon. And a worker seems to have made her way under the stone to another opening, which is now being used and expanded in a very cute way. And a second hunter seems to have had a similar idea. The fact that these ants can crawl backwards excellently is an immense help in such narrow passages. And if you look away for a second, you just see a cricket being dragged to its doom, deep in the darkness, where it will be paralyzed by more stings and never see the light again. Grisly scenes were playing out everywhere. Over and over, you see the ants hunting unsuspecting crickets. Sometimes the ants back off. Maybe they don't feel it, the prey is too big, or the angle isn't right. And sometimes you just get startled and hop to safety. But some crickets are asking for it, and the hunters don't pass up good opportunities. They prefer to choose exactly when to strike, and good chances are rewarded with several stings. Once the ant is sure its venom has been delivered, it can release its strong grip and drag its prey into the darkness. That sends a shiver down your spine. And another opening was conquered by the ants. Seems like they like it in many places here. That includes the highest point of a vivarium, from which the entire setup can be overlooked. And again, you can see a cricket being caught and not let go. A hopeless fight for one and unavoidable for both. In the overview, you can see how much is going on, and that I'm not at all surprised I can catch every attempt. There's bustling from right to left, and a lot is happening. Breathtaking from top to bottom. And even when a large cricket tries to storm the nest, the hunters defended themselves with everything they got. I wouldn't try to find a way in here if you were a cricket. And it doesn't always end as harmlessly as this. You can see it being stung multiple times and then dragged into the nest without ceremony. Ice cold and merciless. The cricket is left as a motionless husk task in the nest while the hunt continues outside. And even if the ants are repeatedly startled by the movements, it's never a feeling of fear that's conveyed, but always one of tactics and carefully considering waiting. And then suddenly it's over and another catch is made. Once again a cricket is covered with stings, and once again the colony's survival has been secured. And when you look at what else is happening, you suddenly see some soil being transported outside while a cricket lies on the floor. Looks like they're making some space for the prey. And the nest crickets are also being sorted and prepared for the colony, and we'll see what happens when we leave the colony alone for a day. The new day starts as it ended, but look at this unbelievable mountain. The ants excavated all this material, and it almost seemed as if the crickets are drawn to it, as if it weren't certain doom. The entire vivarium has been conquered and there's no trace of the crickets. The old nest is also almost empty and the entrance has been blocked. Only a single worker remains in the old nest, but she is curious too, and whenever I follow her, she moves to the exit only to run back into the tube excitedly. It's probably a bit much to take on a human-sized creature. And now back to the new nest. An incredible amount of soil has been moved. The hole on the left especially is impressive and perfect for the ants. But it seems access points were also sealed up top and soil was brought out. The whole moss is covered and the corner is barely recognizable. The cliff has shown less activity, but the entrance on the far right has been closed. Someone is definitely at home here too. Only up here at our prepared nest entrance nothing has happened. But that's okay. The ants have clearly moved in and are comfortable. Time to remove the old nest and look at the result. This is our new tropical rainforest vivarium for our saber-toothed ants. Here they will live and hunt, and their leftovers can already be found everywhere. To deal with this, we have some white isopods here. These feed on the leftover remains and keep the vivarium clean. These isopods play dead when disturbed, but after a short time they come back to life and you can watch them cutely crawl around. These little ones will now comb the soil and wait in the damp places to devour scraps. And along these little crawlers, the vivarium stays extra fresh. These are tropical springtails. They feed on mold among other things and thus are especially good at helping to keep our vivarium fresh. They can reproduce quickly, but their population adapts well to the available food supply. This makes our vivarium even more active. We now have ants, plants, isopods, springtails and crickets. And to celebrate this wonderful vivarium, there's another round of crickets for the ants. The ants have had a long journey. Now they should settle in and feel at home. The first eggs are already laid, the first larvae will follow soon and the colony will grow. I will of course show you how they develop and you'll be the first to know if you hit that subscribe button. With a thumbs up, you tell YouTube that you want to see more videos like this. And if you want to buy the ants some food, you can support the channel with a channel membership. Without channel members, these videos wouldn't be possible. And memberships start at €2. Feel free to check out one of the videos here and I'll see you in the next one.